Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. The majority of the seekers who join us for Meaningful Mornings are Americans. And today is Election Day in America. I listened to an interesting insight about the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans recently. The Democrats are trying, and they have to, reach out to a diverse group of voters. And the Republicans are trying and have to reach out to a uniform group of voters. That is an interesting insight, and it connected me back to chapter 10 about diversity, about unity. It is politicians who decide upon policy. The Sanskrit word for policy is niti. Like I've shared with all of you, the Niti Shastra, the science of leadership. And so I'm forthrightly stating for all of our Americans, it is your responsibility to vote today. You elect politicians who create policy that affects everyone in America and outside of America. Yesterday I'd shared about how in Meaningful Mornings, this is a workshop to raise our standard. It is to raise our self-standard that someone else is not going to vote, you are. If we don't feel this, it's like someone else can be happy, but not me. Reflect lots on this being your responsibility. You may have a lot of moving parts today. You may not be inclined towards a certain party. This is part of your dharma. And I'm not just preaching this. In Ontario, our election was on October 24th. So Sheila and I went, and we take our children. Every election that has happened since our children have been born, we take them with us. They give the voter card to the registrant and so on and so forth. And then Vyasa sits on my lap and he says, color this one in. Because we want them to know how important this is. Their education, their environment is affected by this. Sometimes, our younger son Shuka, he likes to play this game called Hot and Cold. Are you all familiar with this game? But what's really interesting is he hides something. He knows where it is, and then he'll play Hot and Cold. He'll hide, let's say, this toy under the couch, and then he'll say, okay, let's play Hot and Cold. And he's moving away from the toy. We're saying cold, cold, cold. We are the same way. We have hidden the divine. Chapter 10, verse 20, Shri Krishna shares, Sarva Bhutanam ashaya stitaha. I am established in the heart of every being. And then we go about saying, where is Bhagwan? Let me see the divine. 3-year-olds play this game. 60-year-olds play this game too. And so, Sri Krishna, who's the greatest educator, most patient with us, starts to show us, this is great. Amongst the great, there's the greatest. But beyond that is me. There's creation, creator, consciousness. He begins in verse 21. Adityanam maham Vishnuhu. He shares that I am Bhagwan Vamana. The word Vamana means adorable. The one who is most adorable. Why is Bhagwan Vamana most adorable? Because he is the one who can stamp out our sense of doership. Like he did to Mahabali. For us, how do we overcome this notion of separation and doership? It is by adoring the one who can do that for us. And so a synonym for Vamana is the most worshipful. Worship the one who is dismantling your ego. Jyotisham Ravir Anshuman. He shares I am the sun. Anshuman means the one who has light. When we compare the sun and the moon doesn't have light. The moon reflects light. The sun has light. That's why the sun is highlighted as the most brilliant. In Srimad Bhagavatam, a lovely insight is shared about the sun is that it takes salty water, and when it shares it, that water is sweet then, correct? So we should try to be the same way, even if people are salty with us, cranky with us, we should return being sweet, being cheerful. Marichir marutamasmi, that he is Marichihi. This is a type of flowing air or wind. Coming back to Srimad Bhagavatam again, an insight about the wind. The sun is always working for us, and we see this. The wind is also always working for us, but we don't see this. As we go about working hard is like the sun. Everyone look at me, everyone recognize me, appreciate me. But working like the air or wind is working smart, where you're working, but you're not doing this to be seen. You're not making lots of noise as you go about working, serving, and so on. Nakshatranam aham shashi, and I am the moon. When Shuk and I were driving back from school recently, he was sharing how the sun is rising down. See, for him, he's not oriented towards even language. He'll say so many times, we'll do this yesterday. The sun, particularly the moon, doesn't wax or wane. It is only perspective. And so what we can learn from the moon, in terms of perspective, as you go about relating to people, remember there's always two sides to every story, to every conflict. If you internalize that, You're a less partial person. You're a more active listener then. I'll even go to the extent of sharing. How many of you know more than one language? By a show of hands. In Canada, up until grade 9, you have to learn French. And I just couldn't learn French. I didn't have this inclination. So in grade 10, I took drafting. Drafting is woodworking. Who knows why? Just as long as I don't have to study French. When I was in the ashram, we didn't have a choice but to study Sanskrit. Hour after hour, day after day. And what I realized, as hard as this was, I knew nothing about Sanskrit. It was helping me to see that there's more than one perspective towards life, towards philosophy. Knowing another language helps one to be more open-minded. I'm not trying to teach you Sanskrit, but I do point out the philosophy of Sanskrit to make us more open-minded. We continue, verse 22, a very personal and powerful verse. Vedanam sama vedosmi, devanam asmi vasavaha, indriyanam manaschasmi, bhutanam asmi chetana. Example number 5. Vedanam, amongst the Vedas, Samaveda asmi. The greatest, the Sri Krishna, is the Sama Veda. In our culture, we have one Veda. Rishi Vyasa volumized this into 4. The word Vyasa means editor. The better meaning is visionary, the one who knew that we needed a more incremental study of the Veda because we can't do all of it. One of these volumes is called the Sama Veda. This Veda, the teachings in this Veda, is all in poetry, all in a format of a song. Sama Veda is to be sung. What's lovely about this, Vivek is a poor singer, a poor chanter. You may have already realized this as I chant these verses, that I'm not qualified. But I do understand and appreciate, as someone who is sort of involved in education, that singing makes learning easier. Isn't that how children learn? A, B, C, D, right? There's a rhythm to that. So this is why the Sama Veda is highlighted. Devanam, amongst the semi-gods, Asmi, the Sri Krishna, is Vasavaha. This is another name for Indra. Indra Deva, the popular Indra Deva. For those who are interested in the connections of these examples, Sri Krishna shares the sun and then the moon, correct? Remember the 2 paths in chapter 8. The sun path is of values, the moon path is of valuables. Here he shares Samaveda, and then Indra is highlighted because in the Kena Upanishad, which is found in the Samaveda, Indra Deva is enlightened. For those in Ann Arbor, I had taught this in one of our retreats, that Agni Deva, Vayu Deva, they go and try to do some work, but they do it arrogantly. Then Indra Deva goes and tries to do this work humbly. And that is when Bhagavati Parvati comes and teaches him about herself, about the infinite. That's why Sri Krishna is sharing amongst the Devas. He is Indra. Indriyanam, amongst the sense organs. Manaha asmi, the Sri Krishna is the mind. This is awesome. How many of you, by show of hands, practice a Ekadashi Vrata? You fast on the 11th day of the fortnights. Ekadashi means 11. And what one is supposed to do is the 5 organs of action and the 5 organs of knowledge, that's 10, and their boss. Can you point to me who their boss is? The mind. They are to be directed towards the divine. Even in our Bhagavad Gita imagery, what do the horses symbolize? The sense organs. Who's in control of those sense organs? The reins, that is the mind. So amongst all of the sense organs, the Sri Krishna is the mind. Now personalize that. Don't hate your mind. Feel that your mind is the portal for Sri Krishna to function. Finally, Bhutanam, amongst beings, Asmi, the Sri Krishna, is Chetana, intelligence. Here he's specifying humans, and specifically all of you. It is only humans that are born into a yoni. That means a womb, an opportunity for yoga. Yoga means we can evolve. How? By inquiring into who are we. Stones, plants, animals can't do that. Even the devas can't do that. Only we can. And that's why I perpetually emphasized, wherever I go, let go of your IQ and take all of those resources and time and effort and invest them into SQ. That is being like Sri Krishna. Personal verse, yes? So much about us. From inspiration to application, your recent application was to organize your mind and notes towards these verses. Can I see? Someone's holding the newspaper up. These are my notes. You told us to vote. Just to show you again that I'm trying not to be hypocritical. Here are all my notes right there. Verse 20, verse 21, there's verse 22, which we just explored. So I'm trying to do the same. Please continue. Your application for this morning is memorize this verse. It is a song. Gita means song, so it's easier to memorize. Work hard to use your intelligence to remember this verse. Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi. Be safe, be sound, be serene, be joy.